Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurme Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada Om Ganganapate Namaha Om Aim Brim Klim Chamundaye Viche Sarvamangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Devi Narayani Namostute Om Namo Narayanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Shivaya Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 28th of September 2025. I want to offer my respects and prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan, residing in the heart of every single being at all times. Okay. So we are in the midst of Navratri. Today is day number 7. Very auspicious time. For us, every day is auspicious. Navratri is a very special time during the year. It is an opportunity to do special pujas and anushtan and etc. Of course, to remove past problems and blockages and all those kinds of things. At the same time, to set up a very good foundation for a very bright development ahead in life. This life that we have is extraordinarily special. This body, mind, senses, everything that has been given to us has been given to us for a great purpose. And we have to discover what that purpose actually is. So in the usual frame of life, as we have been talking for many days, the spiritual vision that can open up, Divya Drishti, that is our goal. Our goal is to move into that dimension of a liberated being. Mukta sthiti. ये जीवन का लक्ष्य है. इसके साथ भगवान की अखंड भक्ति, प्रेम भक्ति, 10th भक्ति, प्रेम लक्षणा भक्ति. This is the ultimate thing. There's nothing beyond this. That is the opening into the infinite consciousness. While we're living in this sansar, living in the world with the activity that is going on in this material dimension, so this is where the intersection with Navratri comes into the picture. And this is true with Navratri, Shivratri, it is true with Janmashtami, Ram Navami, Diwali, all the different holy days that are there. The goal is to get to that point, to that state, where every moment is divine. That is the purpose why all of these traditions and rituals and different times throughout the whole year were set up for the society, for families. But its ultimate purpose is that every moment is divine. That is his purpose. It is not that Navratri is only during these 9 days. That is a special time for sadhana with cosmic alignment, and all those things are true. There is a science behind it. There is a spirituality behind it. And there is a great power of sadhana behind that also. Yes, that is true. But what is the goal? The goal is a state of internal liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from bondage, bandhan. And that is the actual goal. The cycle of birth and death, punarjanma ka chakkar. This is a very serious problem. Problem in what sense? The Jivatma is trapped inside this cycle. Now, somebody will ask this question, why this cycle even exists? It is an expression of the beginningless engulfment into Mahamaya. That is the only real answer. Now, why? Somebody say, why is there Mahamaya? Why? Iska koi arth nahi hai to ask those kinds of questions, because that shows spiritual immaturity. These questions are immature because it is not an intellectual answer. Somebody will ask the question, why Maya exists? Or why does anything exist? There can be answers, but the Jivatma has to be realized. Why Mahamaya exists? It just exists. There's no why behind that. It's like saying, why does space exist? Why does time exist? Why does God exist? It just exists. It's existence. Now, when we ask the question why, we're looking at that from our point of view. Like, why does a person perform an action? The cause-effect relationship. That is from our level, and that's fine. But from higher consciousness, this question doesn't have any meaning. Like, why does God exist? Or why does Brahman exist? Why does Maya exist? And those questions are very childish questions. It's not a question of why. It is a matter of staying with where we are and realizing that there is a much greater reality. It does exist and it has its own purpose. Those revelations would occur in time. Because people ask these kinds of questions. Why is there so much pain in life and problems in life? If you say God exists, the problem of evil and suffering, those intellectual debates can continue and they don't lead anywhere. It doesn't mean anything at all, because there is a much bigger phenomena going on which we don't exist, which we cannot understand. For example, when we have in our body, if you have one in the stomach, there's the E. coli bacteria cell. One tiny little bacteria cell. Millions are there, right? Billions. Just imagine for a moment that bacteria says, why do I exist inside, where am I existing? Why am I here? Who am I? How does it know what it is? Or what is its purpose? It's part of a much bigger phenomena that it has no capacity to understand that until it actually becomes a human being or evolves into the human state. And even then, even like we're in human body, do we know everything that is going on in our body? Hardly anything we know. We have very little understanding of what is even happening in our body. So we don't understand the cosmic Narayana. How can we possibly understand that? We cannot. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, there's no end to my glory. When he shows the Vishwarup Darshan, Arjuna is like, my God, you're like in everything. There's no end. It's endless. We cannot, our buddhi, our intelligence cannot grasp that unless you go into samadhi, and even then only certain things can be seen. It is not like, somebody can see God completely. It's not a finite object. Wo ananta tattva hai. So these kinds of questions about why God exists and who am I and all that, what we can do is to take the paths shown by great rishis, develop ourselves further, go into much higher realization, and realize who we are, realize what is Paramatma by that connection, by going out of the bondages of the waking dream, deep sleep state. These are big things to understand. We've been talking about them for many years. Right? So spirituality or Sanatana Dharma is not some imaginary thing. Like we talk in Navratri, for example. This is the 7th day, and I want to talk a bit about this today. In this 7th day, this is the day dedicated to Devi Kal Ratri. Now there is a whole technical analysis of what is this form of goddess. But let's back up for a moment. Is Devi some imaginary anthropomorphic thing? I'm mentioning this again because people believe that kya sabab Hindu people are worshipping all these deities, and what is all this? It's some imaginary stuff. No, it is not imaginary. It is not imaginary at all. In ancient times and afterwards until today, the revelation of Divya Swarupa, Divya Tattva, भगवान के सब धाम है, भगवान के सब तत्व है. They are higher beings. They're not just beings. Like Swarg may be a higher being है. Swarg would be lok hai. Other lokas are so many dimensions are there up to beyond the lokas even. जहाँ भगवान शंकर रहते हैं, in the Mahakailas. He's also a being. Not like limited like us. वो ईश्वर है. So they are also beings, but they are in a different level which we cannot imagine. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv भी उनका भी शरीर है. उनका भी certain time period है. We cannot understand what that time period is. It is beyond our understanding. But it's not our kind of time also. It's a different kind of time. So it's not understandable that way. Like Bhagwan Shankar ka jo Kailas dham hai, Maha Kailas, not this Kailas in the Himalaya. That is an access point into the Maha Kailas through the different internal sadhanas at all. If you go into the Maha Kailas, there's no time there, not this kind of time. And that is where, when we talk about these forms of Devi and Goddess, itne sab tattva hai wo, it's impossible for anybody to understand that where we are unless you go into samadhi outside the body, outside the Brahmand, and by Bhagavad Ichha, that Parabrahma shows you those tattvas. And then if you come back again into this sansar will look like a dream. Think about that. It will be like a dream. It is like a dream compared to that. उसका जो अनुभव हो जाएगा ब्रह्म तत्व का, भगवान का, भगवत धाम का, ये सब संसार एक स्वप्न जैसा दिखेगा आपको कि है ही नहीं, है भी नहीं, है फिर नहीं है. Because it is seen for what it actually is. And this is what brings us to Navratri Devi today. This is the background, little bit of the background. Navratri Devi is on the 7th day of Navratri. Navratri means, it is a blend. Kala means black, dark. Ratri means the terrifying night, meaning what? Blending time, death, and the devourer. It's very interesting. It's a very fierce form of Mahakali. What does it represent? What is the form? What is the point behind this specific incarnation? There's a lot of mysticism behind it. A lot of it. First of all, we are living within time. Past, present, future. This is in our mind. There's a mental time. And there is a calendar time. Right? The earth is revolving around the sun is revolving around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy is part of a bigger superstructure. Ye sab chalta hai. It's just one structure after another. Massive astronomy has found all this thing. It is all within time. So the word Kal, K-A-L-A, or Kala, or Kal, means time. So the time is a certain creation itself. Time is created. Time is part of the creation manifestation out of Mahamaya. Now, again, that is the way Mahamaya is expressing herself. The universes are created. That is the way each Jivatma is getting experience of the beginningless engulfment into Anadi, Agnan, or Mahamaya. I know that's a technical thing. We've talked about it before. We need 10-15 hours to understand that one sentence. But we don't have that much time. So it simply means this, that infinite number of Jivatma are there. It's not like a physical thing. I'm just making a hand gesture like that. We cannot understand what they are. That's who we are actually. We are that Jeev Tattva. What that Jeev Tattva is inside Mahamaya. When did it come into Mahamaya? It's not when it came. It was always there. Anadi. From beginningless time. Now, there is a theory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a little different from this notion that the Jivatma has been in Mahamaya from beginningless time. There is that notion in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara that we were all with Bhagavan Krishna at one point, because we are all nothing but another form of Krishna. But we wanted to experience this power of Krishna, that is Maya. That is why the inferior energy is available, it's there, and that is why the Brahman, the Jivatma, then wants to experience and enjoy the Mahamaya. There's a theory like that. I don't want to go into the discussions right now. Those are very extensive Vaishnava texts that talk about this notion, so they don't use the word anadi as much. There's another word used, it slips my mind right now. But there's a word that Swami Prabhupada ji also uses for this. It just slips my mind. There's another word that they use. But Ramanujacharya, Bhagwan Swami Narayan, even Shankaracharya ji, wo sab anadi shabda use karte hai, that this is from beginningless time. So basically it's all the same thing, that we are inside the engulfment of Mahamaya. Whatever the reason may be, but it is there, and it is beginningless. So time is an expression it's a creation of space and time. So space, what we consider to be outer space, inner space, outer space. Space is also created. That is called Bhautik Akash. Prithvi, Jal, Vayu, Tej, Akash. So space is created. This space is like eternal, it's existing all the time, but this space disappears in samadhi. So when a yogi goes into samadhi, ये जो भौतिक आकाश है वो it disappears, and that disappearing point is Kalratri Devi. It's very interesting. You can do multiple dissertations on this subject. It's like anything else. Amazing, right? Of course, the destruction of all the asuri tattva, the negative asuri bhav, physically and mentally in the Brahmand, because the Jivatma is stuck inside the Brahmand. Brahmand is created to take the Jivatma out into Brahman, into super consciousness, Akshardham. But the Jivatma is trapped inside the Brahmand. It was created so that the Jivatma can come out of Mahamaya, and the Jivatma got trapped inside the Brahmand. Why? Why is the Jivatma trapped? Because of the attractions of the experiences of the Brahmand. Yes, the experiences are there, so we can utilize them to go beyond those experiences and discover God, to discover Brahman, discover that higher consciousness. That is why experiences are there through the body-mind complex. The experiences, if they are simply binding us, that binding of the anubhav of the panch vishayas and experiences is the same binding in the dormant state of the Jivatma engulfed inside Maya. So that dormant binding is expressed as the panch vishayas, but there's energy inside there. And the Jivatma is rolling around in the cycle of reincarnation because of that binding phenomenon. I know it's a bit technical. Sorry about that. I want to try to keep it simple, but that's what it is. How can we understand Kalratri Devi unless we understand this thing? You're right? It's quite extraordinary. So when we are looking at the Brahmand, so many species are coming and going. Each being has Jivatma. Each being is a Jiv, Jiva, Jiva. वो जीव दशा कहते हैं. Jiv is a position. It is the tattva. It is bound. It is not Ishvara. It is Jiv. Jiv Koti कहते हैं. ये सब बहुत बड़ी बात है. Where to begin with all this? It's like, my God. It's really extraordinary. So when Devi takes incarnation, Devi meaning Mahashakti herself, she takes incarnation in the Brahmand in different times at different places, and then that's where these stories came about the destruction of these asuras and rakshasas and all. What is that? Are there not asuras and rakshasas today? I don't want to give any names. We know who they are, right? Basically, they're causing a lot of damage to the human society at all levels. वो सब asuri tattva hai, but they also have Shakti. That same Shakti they have because they have done sadhana in previous lives. That's why they're getting that experience of their ahankar that they want. But they cause a lot of damage also. They have to, anybody who causes damage to somebody else, there is a massive karma that one has to, then the nark hai unke liye. Nark lok. किसी के भी साथ, at the moment you harm another person, there is a punishment for that. There's a price to pay. And ये जो नर्क के जो लोक है, लोक meaning regions, those are punishment zones. And they're there. The lower species is maybe जा सकते हैं, and then at some point the asuri bhav is there. Asuri bhav is this ahankar bhav. So that bhav is so strong. So even when human body is granted, that asuri bhav remains. And then so those people are here on this planet also, those jivatma, and from them all the way to the enlightened ekantik santa, Bhagwan ke sant, and everybody else in between. On this Prithvi Lok, everybody is together. It is unbelievable. It is a massive computer program, super duper computer program of Bhagwan Shankar and Devi. Unka program hai ye. And everybody is brought together like this. It is beyond our understanding, all this thing, right? But anyway, so Rishi Parampara ne kya kiya? They said that we want to show the humanity out of this bondage into mukti, into the abode of God. That is why Sanatan Dharma exists. So these traditions of Kalratri Devi, for example, which is the 7th day, think of it this way. At night time, look at, for example, in the human civilization at night time, after 7 p.m., 8 p.m., Rajogun, Rajas, passion increases. Yes, isn't it so? Passion increases. Rajsik bhav. People don't go to bars at 9 a.m. Maybe some do in some places. They go to bars in the evening. They drink in the evening. Isn't it so? This is a simple example. Go to these casinos also. A lot of people are there in the evenings and the weekends and night time. Rajogun. The sexual vasna, Sri Purush ki asakti, more prevalent at night time. Isn't it so? Lot of theft and harm is done at night time. Because there is a sense of this Rajogun wanting to enjoy the experiences of Rajas and Tamas. Yes. But this is the great secret of Navratri. Bhagwan ki upasna karna at that time. Magic happens in that. Bhagwan ki upasna in the evening. See, in our entire Sanatan Dharma, we have Sandhya Arti. Isn't it so? Every temple has an evening Arti. At 6 p.m., 7 p.m. time comes, you have to put a diva on and do an Arti in the evening. Not go to the bar or go to the casino or go to God knows where and destroy your internal energies. That is not a path of any kind. So when people have accumulated, now here's the interesting connection with the Kalratri Devi. From millions of lifetimes accumulated Rajsik karma, Rajogun, Tamogun ka jab karma sab accumulate hua hai in the causal body, in the Sukshma Sharir, when Navratri comes, and specifically when we do Havan, Pujan, that's why, you see every day Sachin is doing this as a seva, right? This is one of the main reasons why. The things that are accumulated for God knows how many lifetimes, this lifetime, past lifetimes, by doing Havan, by doing Pujan, by doing Prarthana and not doing any other crazy stuff, this is where the fierce power of Kalratri Devi opens up on this day. And she obliterates those millions of lifetimes of karma. Destroy kar deti, totally. All 9 days are like that. That is the power of Navratri. So one is taken out of the horrific cycle of birth and death. Different kinds of negative. Some people have done some really horrific things. We don't know, But if they take the shelter of Mahashakti, they recognize that, hey, Prabhu, hey, Parameshwari, whatever has been done, Shama karo, and just please bless us. That bhavna needs to be there. Just that much bhavna, some sadhana, some pujan, archan, havan, whatever we are doing is fine. And asking Paramatma to obliterate all the past accumulated karma through Sharanagati. And when we do that, and we have a Shuddha Bhavana, then this is where all 9 forms of the Durga Devi, and today is the 7th day, it gets wiped out. It gets taken care of. But from that, one has to be aware of living a life that doesn't create bondages again. वो भी ध्यान रखना चाहिए. Right, so that's the basic idea. That's the basic idea. So Kalratri embodies Durga Devi's power to annihilate, to destroy the Asuri forces, demonical forces, negative. बहुत negative forces है जीवन में. We were talking about that before, about ghosts and all this hauntings and dead relatives and all kinds of crazy things which we don't realize. We don't have to worry about all that thing. इसीलिए भगवान की उपासना करना, शुद्ध जीवन जीना, और specifically जो देवी की जो 9 days की जो पूजा है, we don't realize what kind of other kind of problems are there. This ghost ka sab problem and all this kind of lot of that goes on. It gets completely obliterated. Completely. We don't realize, so we don't have to even worry about that. As long as we just simply do Navaran Mantra, Bhagwan ki bhakti karni, nothing to worry about in that. But those difficulties do exist in some cases. In many cases, in fact. So nothing to worry. But when we do the Havan particularly, Devi ka Havan, उसको जो हवन करना का जो शक्ति है, it is a burning of all of those kinds of disturbances, which we don't know in the family, in the extended family. Sachin is doing it for whole sansar, for whole world, सबके लिए. ऐसी एक भावना है, और हमारा एक भाव है. Nothing is in our hands. Who are we to do anything? We're not doing anything. We are only doing prarthana, and that is also being done by the Krupa and Shakti. We're not even doing that. We don't have any capacity to do anything. We think we're the doer. No, it's not like that at all. Bhagavat Ichha se sab kuch hota hai. And this is the key point about Kalratri Devi. It is the burning, quote, burning of the impediments to liberation. She, देवी की special शक्ति है उनके पास. वो स्वयं शक्ति है. She burns the obstacles towards एकांतिक dharma. People don't realize this thing. Swaminarayan के जो भक्त हैं, they don't have any understanding of these things, unfortunately. And the reason behind that is not their fault. जो भी है, they don't need to understand it also, because they already have gone to a certain point. But many sampradayas are there. They just ignore Devi. It's a massive mistake. It's a very serious, number one mistake is to ignore Mahashakti. Possible ही नहीं. और इनका ये नव दुर्गा का सब स्वरूप है. Where does it actually lead? To Radhika ji. Bhakti, pure bhakti. उसमें कोई भेद है? वो राधिका जी का ही सब स्वरूप है ये. इन शिक्षापत्री में महाराज स्वयं कहते हैं, वामे यस्य स्थिता राधा श्रीश यस्यासि वक्षसि वृंदावन विहारम तम श्री कृष्ण मृदि चिंते. राधा कृष्ण के सब मंदिर उन्होंने बांधे. How can anybody who is a Swaminarayan devotee not accept Radhika ji? That's the most foolish thing. अज्ञान बात है ये सब. And that's going on even in today's. Sorry to say that openly, but I have to say it, because that is not correct. Devi ko ignore karna, it is a massive massive mistake. The day that mistake is made, one is finished from spirituality. One may do all kinds of things. The vasanas will never leave you. Impossible. Because it doesn't matter which sadhana you have, which gurus you have. People are spinning in circles. I was talking about that before. The only way out of that spinning in circles, either you try to go towards 100% saintliness, and if you cannot do so, you have, because that is Shakti herself, then automatically Mahashakti is there. That's why Shriji Maharaj कहते हैं inside the Vartal 11 Vachanamrut, Satpurush ne vishay drar priti age atmadarshan nu sadhan. Yes, if Sachin says, I want to be in that saintly state 100%, तो सब देव देवी सब कुछ आ गया इसमें. There's no अहंकार साधुता. पर वो जो नहीं है, then you have, if there's even the slightest deflection from the 100% saintly state, you have to have the blessings of Devi. No choice, sorry. Cannot circumvent Devi. And who has that 100%? Vichar to kijiye, even if one small disturbance comes about taking fault from somebody, some ahankar comes, some vasana comes, even the tiniest amount, we are millions of miles away from that saintly state, from that param sadhuta ki sthiti. Aur wo hi chahiye, then go 100% for that. All the Shakti goes in that direction. Wo bhakti hai, that is Radhika ji, prema bhakti, mukta sthiti, mostly what we talk about. But I'm mentioning it today based on the Navratri time, because there's a lot of people in different sampradayas that ignore Devi. They are making the biggest mistake of their life. That there is no greater mistake in life than ignoring Devi. There is no greater mistake than this. Why is that? Because that Devi is inside of you as Kundalini Shakti. And to ignore, to disrespect, some people disrespect, some people do all kinds of ridiculous things. Nahi. Kabhi bhi nahi. Never. Kisi Devi ka swarup, Devta ka swarup, Bhagwan Shankar ka swarup, Vishnu ji का स्वरूप कभी भी उनके साथ disrespect करना नहीं चाहिए. People do it sometimes. I've seen that in fact. You know, and भगवान सबको क्षमा करे. You know, in शिक्षापत्री में एक श्लोक महाराज ने लिखा है. क्या लिखा है? You know what that is? You'll be surprised. उन्होंने लिखा है, if devotees are going, who are Vaishnavas, let's say, are going on a route somewhere, and a Shivling is there, some Shiv Mandir is there, the Agnya, and of any deity for that matter, any Devata, the Agnya is there to stop, to go inside the Mandir, उनका पूजन करना, उनका दंडवत करना, उनके आदर थी पूजा करवी, आदर थी नमस्कार करो. That is a Agnya in the Shikshapatri. And if you don't follow the Shikshapatri, there's a lot of trouble in the Sanatan Dharma. I don't want to go into those details. Shikshapatri is a master key. It is an extract of all of this. And in the Shikshapatri, Devi ki bhi baat likhi hai, bahut likhi hai. कैसी लिखी है? 5 देवता, जिसको पंचायतन सन्मानाय नमः, उसमें पार्वती जी का नाम है, राधिका जी का नाम है. थ्रू आउट द शिक्षापत्र राधिका जी कौन है? So anybody who is a Vaishnava obviously is going to worship Radhika ji. Yes, no doubt there are सब तत्व ज्ञान है, सब संस्थाओं में, all those things are there, but cannot ignore Devi. और ये जो गरबा का जो प्रोग्राम है, इसमें कैसा होना चाहिए? इसमें स्त्री पुरुष की मर्यादा होनी चाहिए. और गरबा तो माता जी का होता है. You can have, कृष्ण भगवान के songs and गुरुओं के, you can have that thing. That's fine. But the concept of garba, I want to mention that also. People have misunderstanding on this one. Concept of garba is that that your internal bhakti and bhav through the body motions, the dance that is connecting with Mahashakti, with love. इसका point इतना ही है. ये point है. But इसमें स्त्री पुरुष की मर्यादा होनी चाहिए. Otherwise इसमें से वासना का mix होता है. People are dressed up and girls are dressed up and men are dressed up and this and that. हमारी वृत्ति भगवान में है और कुछ अलग वस्तु में है. That's a problem. And a lot of people have gotten into trouble. The girls have gotten pregnant and pregnancies and rapes and terrible things have happened. It's not nothing to do with Navratri or Devi. It has to do with vasanas. One has to be very careful. Our whole entire, what we so-called Hindu community, has to be awakened to all these things. That what we are doing, where we are headed, do we have any sense of what we are doing? And what is happening to our current generation, next generation, how to pull these ideas together. The proper understanding is missing. Even the right kind of sadhana is missing. And just सब इसमें वासना का मिक्सचर होना नहीं चाहिए. बहुत ध्यान रखना. गरबा का प्रोग्राम करना है with lot of respect and love for everybody. इसकी मर्यादा होनी चाहिए. पुरुषों का सेक्शन अलग होना चाहिए, स्त्रियों का सेक्शन अलग होना चाहिए, भक्ति भाव होना चाहिए. इसमें हिंदी फिल्म सॉन्ग, यू कैन नॉट पुट फिल्म सॉन्ग्स इनसाइड देयर. इसमें देवी के ओरिजिनल जो माता जी के जो सब अष्टक है, द प्योर डिवोशनल सॉन्ग शुड बी देयर, not the mixtures from other things that will deflect our mind into rajoguna. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. But just to accumulate people, just for, you're mixing together rajoguna in a upasana that is to be done, that is the purest and fantastic upasana. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. We have to be very careful. Because then what happens, we are only damaging ourselves by doing that. Be very, there are no doubt. As I mentioned to you before, क्लीम बीज मंत्र द्वारा स्त्री पुरुष का जो संबंध, उसकी भी साधना अलग प्रकार की साधना है. That has to be done with somebody who knows what they're doing for relationship enhancement. It cannot be done in the public like that, So there's problems with these garba. Garba is not the problem. The problem is with the way people are going into the going there. And what is the bhav inside? किस प्रकार का भाव है? ये साधना है. ये जो डांस की जो बात है, इवन द रासलीला, भगवान कृष्ण रासलीला करते थे, तो वो एक अलग बात, इट्स अ डिफरेंट डायमेंशन कंप्लीटली. So I know we're over time here. I just want to make one or two points on this. That माता जी की जो उपासना है, इसमें कोई स्वार्थ नहीं होना चाहिए. Whatever we want to see happen in our lives in the right way, that should happen. And prarthana needs to happen in a way that is for the benefit of all. It is not to be done to harm somebody, to harm anybody. Because people have certain, this is another one final point I want to make. Sometimes in Devi Upasana, in the historical, look at the texts and other places, people have gotten certain siddhis. They want siddhis. Ahankar to chuta nahi hai. They want some siddhi. They want, whatever it is. And then they harm somebody because of that. Isn't that happening today in the world with all these weapons and everything else? What is that? वो भी एक सिद्धि है, वो शक्ति का ही सब स्वरूप है, अहंकार का स्वरूप है. इसीलिए भगवान की भक्ति में अहंकार का कोई स्थान नहीं है. It is it's not spiritual. Anybody wanting siddhis from God to harm somebody, that is not spirituality. तो बहुत ध्यान रखना चाहिए. ऐसा हुआ था. It has happened in the history of Sanatan Dharma. So watch out for these kinds of things, because that is not adhyatma at all. That is not adhyatma. And then there's a lot of history in Sanatana Dharma about this kind of stuff happening. Certain babas and all that kind of stuff, they have done a lot of sadhana, but ahankar chuta nahi, sadhuta nahi hai, and they're filled with certain kind of energy. Kya you say iska? What is the point? The goal is saintliness. If we forget that goal, everything is lost. Everything is lost. It doesn't matter how much sadhana anybody does. And if you start with that, that's what we're doing every day. मैं मुक्त हूँ, मैं दिव्य हूँ, मैं not that ego. दिव्यता है, भगवान की भक्ति है अखंड. Saintliness is the highest Shakti. Even if we don't know anything about Devi or Goddess or anything like that or Shivji, but if one is a pure at heart, like Jesus said, सब शक्ति उसमें आ जाती है. You don't have to worry about anything. सब देव देवियों सब आ जाते हैं इसमें. In fact, नरसिंह मेहता जी कहते कि लक्ष्मी जी मारा संतनी दासी रे. Lakshmi ji, Mahalakshmi ji, she's standing with hands folded in front of enlightened saints. कि आपकी क्या आज्ञा है? Think about this point. You know, Lakshmi ji mara santani dasi re. How that is possible? Sant की स्थिति क्या है? There is no equal to that. भगवान स्वयं संत के भक्त बन जाते. There is no equivalent to the highest level of saintliness. और वो ही नहीं मिलता जीवन में. बाकी सब मिल सकता है. So many things we get, come and go. But that's pure saintliness. That is the eye on the prize. इसके इक्वल में कुछ है ही नहीं. और इसमें अनंत शक्ति है. सब देव देवियों, सब ब्रह्मा विष्णु शिव, सब तत्वों, everybody starts coming with hands folded. सब ईश्वरों, सब अवतारों, everyone, all forms of God, भगवान स्वयं वो संत के भी भक्त बन जाते. इतनी लेवल है साधु की. रियल साधु, हाँ, नॉट बाय दिस एक्सटर्नल थिंग्स एंड सम हियर एंड देयर. नो 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 नो. निर्माण मोहा जित संग दोषा. इसमें जो ये स्थिति आ जाएगी, अनंत शक्ति is present. And what is that shakti for? It is used for the kalyanam, the benefit of every single being. It is not used in any way, at any time, in any place, for any ego-driven activity. Not one piece of shakti is used that way. Think about it. Think about our lives. Even if we have $100 bill, how are we using that $100? Are we using it for the benefit of ourselves, others, in a best possible way, as a vitamin M, that book that was written a couple of years back? Think about it. शक्ति का दुरुपयोग नहीं होना चाहिए. शक्ति का परम उपयोग is not easy. Because to live outside the ahankara dimension, the moment we start living outside that, all 9 forms of Durga Devi herself, Durga Devi, Radhika ji, sab jo mool prakriti, all forms, they are all one only. They are literally, think about this, they are standing with in the seva modality of the ekantik sant. कि क्या सेवा करनी है. Can you imagine this idea? किसको मालूम है ये सब? There's no equivalent to that. And by the way, that doesn't mean the saint is not worshipping. He's constantly in devotion. And this is what I've mentioned this before. भगवान की भक्ति में ऐसा होता है कि सब भक्त बन जाते. भगवान भी भक्त बन जाते. भक्तों भी तो वो तो भक्त है. There's nobody who's claiming that I'm the one. I'm belonging to you. Everybody says I'm belonging to you. Bhagwan Ram says I belong to Shiva. Shiva says I belong to Devi. Devi says I belong to Shiva. Lakshmi ji says I belong to Narayan. Narayan says I belong to Shivji or Lakshmi. Everybody becomes a bhakta. Isn't that something amazing? How can that be? Everybody is a bhakta. So Bhagwan kya hai? Bhagwan is that bhakti. भगवान है भगवत तत्व, पर वो भगवत तत्व ही भक्त है. You say people worship Krishna. Who does Krishna worship? He worships Radha. मेरे पास from one of the temples we got this beautiful painting. Somebody had made this. The Bhagwan Krishna is standing at the feet of Shri Radhika ji. ऐसा एक फोटो है घर में. ये समझने की बात है. The moment we understand this and live this way, whole spirit, then what is left? Only love. और कुछ नहीं. प्रेम. Nothing other than love. करुणा, प्रेम, दिव्य दृष्टि, अखंड आनंद. और फिर भक्ति में रस, इसका जो रस है, it just expands. सबकी सेवा भाव, loving all, wishing well for all, संत के गुण ऑटोमेटिक आ जाते हैं. वैष्णव जनो तो तेने कहिए रे पीड़ पराई ने जाने. जो गांधी जी used to sing that भजन, वो नरसिंह मेहता जी का भजन है. ये सब प्योर अध्यात्म है. ठीक है, we've gone way over time here, but this is on the 7th day of Kalratri. We could say a lot more about this Devi, but this is the essence essentially. Lots of prarthana for everyone. We'll continue on this path forward. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarachi Sarvadam Ganganapate Namaha. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Shri Durgaye Namaha. Om Shri Radha Krishnaye Namaha. Om Hrim Swaha.